Hey everyone, inflation. It's a term we hear all the time, but what exactly causes it? Inflation happens when the prices of goods and services rise over time, reducing the purchasing power of money. Some inflation is natural, but when prices rise too fast, it affects economies, businesses, and everyday life. Did you know inflation comes in different types? Today, I'll explore three major types of inflation: demand pull, cost push, and built-in inflation, with real-world examples. First up, demand pull inflation. This happens when the demand for goods and services grows faster than supply, leading to price increases. Simply put, too much money is chasing too few goods. One real-world example is the global semiconductor chip shortage after the COVID-19 pandemic. When lockdowns eased, demand for cars, laptops, and gaming consoles surged. However, semiconductor production couldn't keep up, causing prices of electronics and automobiles to rise drastically. Another example is the real estate boom seen in many countries. In the US, India, and China, property prices skyrocketed because more people were buying homes while supply remained limited. As a result, home prices became unaffordable for many middle-class families. Effects of demand pull inflation include rising prices of everyday essentials like food, fuel, and rent, businesses making higher profits initially but later struggling as people cut back on spending, and central banks increasing interest rates to slow down borrowing and spending. Next, let's talk about cost-push inflation. This occurs when the cost of raw materials, labor, or production increases, forcing businesses to raise prices. This happens due to supply chain disruptions, higher wages, or increased taxes. A major example is the 2022 energy crisis. Due to geopolitical conflicts and supply chain issues, oil and gas prices soared. Since transportation and manufacturing rely on fuel, prices of food, electricity, and household goods also increased. Another example is the Russia-Ukraine war affecting global wheat prices. Ukraine is one of the world's largest wheat exporters. When war disrupted supply chains, wheat prices skyrocketed, causing food inflation worldwide. The effects of cost-push inflation include higher production costs making businesses cut jobs or raise prices, reduced purchasing power where salaries don't match price increases, and governments struggling to control inflation without slowing down economic growth. Lastly, built-in inflation, also known as the wage price spiral. This happens when higher wages lead to increased prices, which in turn cause workers to demand even higher wages. This creates a cycle called the wage price spiral. A perfect example is Argentina's inflation crisis. Workers demanded higher wages due to rising living costs. Businesses, in turn, increased prices to cover wage expenses. This cycle continued, making inflation uncontrollable. Another example is the UK railway strikes in 2023. Employees demanded higher pay due to inflation, and when wages increased, train ticket prices were raised to cover the cost. Effects of built-in inflation include a continuous loop of rising wages and prices, businesses struggling to balance profits and employee salaries, and governments using monetary policies such as limiting money supply to control inflation. To prevent inflation from spiraling out of control, central banks and governments take measures like raising interest rates to make borrowing more expensive, reducing money supply by limiting how much money circulates in the economy, and increasing production incentives to boost supply and reduce price hikes. For example, the US Federal Reserve and the Reserve Bank of India increased interest rates in 2022 to control rising inflation. This slowed down demand, stabilizing prices. Inflation is not just an economic concept, it directly affects our lives. Whether it's demand-driven price increases, rising production costs, or wage hikes causing a price spiral, inflation shapes economies worldwide. Understanding these types helps us make better financial decisions. Have you noticed inflation affecting prices in your country? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more economic insights. Stay informed and stay ahead.